Welcome back to the Today Show. With us, our guest is the Mayor of Burlington, Marianne. Now, Mayor, what do you believe the light bulb moment was for you or for anybody else who says, hey, I want to be the mayor here? What's kind of that inspiration or that eureka moment for them?
This is all about community service. So
Okay.
you have to want to serve the community and bring about change to make your city better, do some good. I think that's why most elected officials go into office is they want to make the world a better place and contribute to that change. And certainly that was the case for me. I was a journalist myself for over 20 years before I ran. And, the light bulb moment for me was I was an opinion writer, I was a columnist, I was a panelist, talk show person. I would often be telling governments what they should do. And at a certain point in my life, I said, you know what? I don't want to just tell other people through my writing and my calling what they should be doing. I want to get in there and do it myself. I want to be part of that change. And so I ran the very first time in 2006 in the municipal election. I lost that one. I ran in 2007 provincially. I lost that one too. And then I ran again in 2010 and I won. That was my first seat on council. And 2014, I ran for re-election, won that. And then in 2018, I made the really tough choice for me to give up my seat as a councillor to run for mayor. And if I lost that, and there was no guarantee, I'd be off council. And I loved what I did. And of course, that election, I was running against the incumbent mayor. There was also the former member of parliament who had served both on council and for, in the federal House of Commons for many years. And, so formidable challenge. But the light bulb was I just kept hearing from the community and had my own concerns about the development that was taking place across the city, including downtown, and felt the community voice was really being tuned out. And so I took a huge risk to give up what people told me was a pretty safe re-election as councillor because people were they were happy with the service. I was hearing that to run for mayor, and there's no guarantees. There was no guarantees. I would say I started as the dark horse in that race. There was no guarantee I was going to win, but it was that important to me that the status quo and just continuing along was not going to work, and so I felt I needed to bring change, and this was the way to do it. So I took that risk, and I was really okay with whatever the outcome was going to be was the public's choice, and I've always respected democracy and just respected the residents' right to choose, and I was okay with that. So it gave me kind of peace that whatever the outcome is, that's what the people have said, and they've spoken, and they obviously chose me. So that was awesome. that was a very special night, I can tell you that. So very, very happy to be able to serve the community, and it's a real honor and it's a privilege.
So that kind of almost emulates when you openly talk about your top five priorities that you have, getting traffic moving, talking about the reducing the flood risk plain and taxes and things like that, but transparency itself within the government. Why do you feel that there's a lack of trust or a lack of transparency between, I guess, the office and the citizens? It seems to me like you're saying, hey, let's be open book and show everybody everything,
Mhm.
but it's also one on your top priority list of trying to ensure everyone knows that that's available or transparent. Sorry.
No, it's a great question. And, my 8 years as a council member, I, the council wasn't, in my mind, respectful towards each other. They weren't respectful to the public when they would come and delegate. They were what we used to call gotcha questions, that would embarrass residents. Did you know that? And, they would make residents feel bad if they didn't know chapter and verse of what we were doing, rather than listen deeply to what the residents were saying and see if there was merit or validity or anything that we could learn and make a better decision. And so that was a real concern for me, and that was part of what I ran on, is to restore trust. Community members felt, look, the decisions that council are making, especially on development, don't reflect what I want to see happen in my city. I heard that across the city, people saying, I don't like this vote. I think they're tuning us out. They're not, reflecting resident input in their decisions. I certainly felt that way as a councillor, and I was, colloquially known as the queen of the 6-1 vote. There's 7 of us on council. I lost a lot of votes, and that's heartbreaking, because you believe in your position, and when you lose like that, you wonder. It's tough. It's tough. But the more that happened, the more I heard from the community saying, "You're actually reflecting what we feel."
Oh, cool.
And so part of that accountability, transparency to the community was to actually listen and represent those views. And as it turned out, in the election, we saw that the city was with me. My colleagues weren't, and that's so the result. There was only one council member that was reelected. Three people, including the mayor, lost their seat in that election because residents felt they were tuned out. So really important to stay in touch with the community. And if you're going to vote a different way, to explain why. And so, you mentioned transparency. One of the very first things I did as a council member is I started a monthly newsletter to tell people about decisions at City Hall before we made them. That was novel at the time, not after the fact. Look, this is what we did, when nobody could influence it. Nobody could make a recommendation. It was really important for me from a accountability, transparency standpoint to say, here's what's coming up. Here's kind of where I'm at. I would give them my take if I knew, to say, so what do you think? And when I ran for re-election in 2014, and even when I was running for mayor, that was the one thing that people in the community said they valued most. You tell us what you think, you tell us why, we can engage with you and tell you what we think, but we know where you stand. And residents even said, even when I don't agree with you, at least I know why and how you got to that perspective. So, and now it's standard. Every single member of council, and even back then, other council members adopted that. But every member of council has a monthly newsletter and stays in direct touch with their community.
Now, the monthly newsletter, is that on your site? You had something called the Mayor Mailbag. Is that the
Oh,
monthly newsletter you're referring to?
no, but that's a great question too. The monthly newsletter is you subscribe. It's by email, so anyone that wants to can subscribe. That's through my webpage, mariannemeadward.ca. It's right there on the homepage, and you'll find all the articles that are in the newsletter on that page too. So you can subscribe. You get it all packaged up nicely once a month in your inbox. But we post almost daily. Actually, we do post daily. So there's always, and if you, we talked about Bateman earlier. Anyone interested in Bateman, go to the website, search for Bateman. You'll find all of the information that I shared today about that. But the mayor's mailbag is something that we started because, we would get questions from constituents via email. What about this? What about that? And if we got, a number of people asking, or we thought, what, we bet there's other people out there in the community who are asking that very same question. So every Monday, we pick a question that we've gotten from the community that we think others would like to know the answer to. And that's our mayor's mailbag. So, sometimes it's leaf collection, or it's snow pickup, or it's, what is happening with the Bateman site, or, any number of questions. And it's been well received because we discovered that, usually there are more than just that one person who emailed us that is asking that same question and values getting the answer. So we do that every Monday. And then at the end of the month, we do kind of a roundup where here's all the questions that came in this month if you missed them, and here's all the answers.
Cool. So when we look at this newsletter that you're doing and getting all the questions put in, have you been coming across anybody or the city or the citizens saying, hey, what are the green initiatives that we can look forward to from the city of Burlington? Or is that still, down there on the list of things?
No, actually, climate change as a whole has gotten right to the top. And I think that's because there's global awareness of the urgency of acting to slow down climate change. We declared a climate emergency in 2019 that was brought forward by one of my colleagues, and then we set about building a climate action plan, and we're working our way through the items on that list.
Awesome. Well, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.